Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll be talking about the Venice Grand Canal in the island city of Venice in Italy. Please remember to like and subscribe. Alright, fact 1. Flow changes. The Grand Canal in Venice, Italy is a very interesting waterway. It cuts through the city of Venice into two pieces, and it's definitely not a river. Because if you look at the map, from one end to the other, it gets completely into the Adriatic Sea. There is no source from a mountaintop or a tributary from another river. This canal is entirely situated within the Adriatic Sea. And so if someone thinks it's a river, it's definitely not. And because the canal is entirely within the sea, it actually experienced tide changes, high tides and low tides. And as a result, the canal flow's direction changes every time the tide changes. And so you can't say that about any river in the world because rivers usually only flow one way due to gravity. The Grand Canal is entirely within the Adriatic Sea and therefore is subject to the sea's tide to control its flow direction. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 2. Wealth competition. As you can easily deduce, City of Venice is composed of many canals that makes up its city. And the Grand Canal is the most important one of all. It's the widest and the most important canal. It is the main thoroughfare of the city. From a simple look on the map, ever since the 13th century, people understood that the Grand Canal is the most important thoroughfare and the most important real estate in the city of Venice. Anyone who's a noble or a super wealthy individual wants to have their house and palace situated along the Grand Canal. It is a sign of prestige and wealth. And as more and more rich people and aristocrats built their houses along the Grand Canal, competition began, and one family wants to outdo the other, and eventually get into a building competition where they try to outdo each other on the size and the scale of their palaces along the Grand Canal. As a result of the competition, the most expensive and also ornate houses, or in the largest ones, are all along the Grand Canal. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 3. Only 4 bridges. Despite the entire length of the Grand Canal that traversed through the whole island city of Venice, this canal actually only has 4 bridge crossings. This was to force people to travel by river. As we get into the next sections, the houses along the Grand Canal could really only be reached by gondolas and boats. Any type of maritime vessel is needed for the Grand Canal. In the past, there was only 3 bridges, and the latest one was built really because of all the massive tourist attractions and the tourist influx into the city of Venice. The latest bridge, the Constitution Bridge, was meant for people to get off their boat or bus and then start walking across the Grand Canal and into the city of Venice. The other 3 bridges are much older and probably built only as an exception rather than the norm. And so as a result, you can say that the Grand Canal is not really pedestrian friendly, but boat friendly. And similar to the city of Venice everywhere else, you need to have a watercraft in order to survive. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 4. A yearly regatta. You may not know this, but the canal is not just for traffic and for people to get to and from a location or to transport goods. They also hold a yearly regatta of a competition of gondolas. People wear their century-old traditional clothing from the old Republic of Venice days and try to row as fast as they can to reach their destination as being the first gondola. And so it is definitely a racing regatta, but with the additional twist that the people are dressed not in the sports uniforms or some kind of modern waterproof technology, but instead they dress as they've done in the past centuries in their old type Republic of Venice uniforms and row as fast as they can. So as a result, you can say that the regatta is not necessary for record breaking or some kind of massive speed competition. It's really just to preserve the tradition of racing on the Grand Canal in a traditional clothing of the old days of Venice, Italy. There's not going to be any speed records that are broken because people really just row as fast as they can at a leisurely pace. Alright, let's get to the next and final fact. No walkways. When you visit rivers and canals around the world, typically on the two banks of the river or canal, there is pedestrian walkways. For the Grand Canal, this is not the case. Along the Grand Canal, all the houses are built directly up to the point of the canal. That means as soon as you step outside 1 foot out of the houses along the Grand Canal, you're into the canal, you're into the water. And I believe they did this on purpose because they want to make the accessibility of these grand palaces along the Grand Canal difficult for pedestrians. You need to have a gondola or a watercraft in order to get from one house to another along the Grand Canal. I think it's very incredible that for hundreds of years they thought of it this way. Because most people would build some kind of walkway so that they can get from one house to another in a fairly easy fashion by walking across. But along the Grand Canal, you simply cannot do that. You must have a watercraft of some type to get from one house to the next along the Grand Canal. Imagine visiting your neighbor, then you have to get into your boat and row next door rather than walk across because there's simply no walkway. Everything is built right up to the canal. Alright, that's it for my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.